Zalavier Nelson Jr. is a peculiar microbe on the petri dish of game developers. Over the past year or so, he and I have become chill with it. We like each other's vibe. One day, I asked him to prove his love for me by letting me into the one place a YouTuber should never go, aside from a middle school, a dev studio. A Discord server, in this case. This was not something I expected him to agree to. He doesn't love me. Let an influencer off their leash for 2 seconds and they'll violate your privacy, your kids. This is where everyone he employs does their job. Hell, even if he did let me into his habitat, you know how that usually goes. They show me the beta version of a thing that's clearly been polished to be shown off. Like, wow, looks amazing. Ice cream's so good. He did not do that. He and the team direct me to a project that doesn't even have a marketing plan yet. They give me completely unlimited access to their entire history of discussion. They don't censor anything. I just have it. They tell me to tell the story. Just, tell it however you want. Like, sure, why not? Your name is Noodle. Nothing matters. Could have been premiered to the world. Jeff Keighley. This is stupid. He is stupid. I am stupid. We're gonna go places. You're gonna see Bass Reeves Can't Die from its inception, before it looks fun, before it even makes sense. But trust me, when you see it come together, you'll get it. By the end, you'll feel exactly the same way the devs do about the thing. Speaking of which, hi Zalavier, how was clown school?
Clown school was great. A bunch of stuff I was already doing and didn't know was related to the clowning discipline. I was able to take that.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Can you do something funny? How did you do that? How did you learn? How did you learn Bass?
I found a Bass Reeves children's book. I was a children's librarian. I was still underage myself. I was told by the local library that I would not be doing much more than helping them reshelve things, and within a week I was handling people's social security numbers, so you know that your boy was popping, locking, and making things happen.
Wait, we both grew up in Texas. That's not the library I went to as a kid, was it?
I don't know. Was your social security number 8?
I find a book called Bad News for Outlaws.
Me too. Here's the book. It's not the only one. The man's a rabbit hole.
I got a glimpse into a man that went beyond exceptional. He was legitimately superhuman. He's the direct inspiration for the modern superhero and the Lone Ranger.
This man was a slave until he struck his master, at which point he ran away to escape death. After the Civil War, he became a deputy marshal, working mostly in the Wild West.
He only had killed 14 people, arrested over 3,000. He was never injured in the line of duty. He was known as the Invincible Marshal or the Immortal Marshal.
He cheated death constantly. Bullets grazed his saddle horn, tore through the brim of his hat, ripped buttons off his coat. Many indigenous people of the time believed he literally could not die.
He would go in disguise. He would pull off stratagems. This dude would lead even sometimes entire teams of people to investigate situations or capture criminals.
One time he rode up to an angry mob lynching a dude, cut the man down, threw him on his horse, and rode off. Never said a fucking word. He didn't need to. Nobody dared interfere. You don't fuck with Bass Reeves.
He is such a badass that when he retired, just became a sheriff of his little town. For 3 years, no one committed crime in the area because you don't fuck with Bass Reeves.
The more I learned about the man, the harder it was for me to believe he was a real person. But he simply is.
I had this entire conception of not really holding anyone up. A lot of people are flawed. A lot of systems are self-destructive in one way or another, if only because of human error. I don't have heroes. And suddenly Bass Reeves arrived, and very suddenly I had one. And ever since then, especially when I became a game developer, I kept thinking, what do I do? What do I do? What game can I possibly make that upholds his legacy?
I feel like now's a good time to clue you in. Satellite indie game studio Strange Scaffold, which abbreviates to... Okay, we don't abbreviate it, actually. Anyway, basically everyone except for Zalavier is a remote, part-time freelancer. This is the same studio behind cult hit El Paso Elsewhere, Game of the Year contender I Am Your Beast, click holding, Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator, creepy redneck dinosaur mansion 3. These are all real. Let's play a game. Bearing in mind that Bass Reeves was such a good marksman that he was banned from shooting tournaments so he'd stop winning all of them, what kind of direction do you think they would take a gamified story of Bass Reeves? Leave your vote in the comments. We'll come back to this. Okay, while that's going, let me introduce you to Colin.
Hi, I'm Colin.
This is Colin.
My favorite games are Oblivion and Glover.
Colin met Xalavir some years ago at PAX South when he made a video game, strapped it to his back, and wandered around the convention center dressed like a pig because he could not be fucked to pay for a booth.
Well, it was $3,000, and, you know, it was a passion project, and I really just wanted to make
hold
a
on,
game.
hold on. So Xalavir has this ailment where he thinks the Oblivion dialogue wheel is really good. He's had this condition for at least 7 years.
So Xalavir twat back in 2021 that he was making a game about the Oblivion wheel persuasion mechanic and called Bethesda cowards. The only way you could get me more on board is by saying it was a spiritual successor to Glover, so I agreed with him and I said I wanted to make that game with him. Then he threateningly DM'd me asking how serious I was and to choose my words carefully.
Basically, I believe one of the objectively perfect gameplay systems ever invented is the Oblivion Persuasion minigame. That wheel that you could talk to literally every character for no reason and get them to like you. I said that is a flexible framework around which an entire game could be built. This could be the way I tell the story of Bass Reeves. It's insane, but that's where my brain went.
Xalavir reached out to Colin on March 16th, 2022. On March 17th, they had a working prototype. Pretty cool.
I was not a professional programmer at the time, and I was just pretty sure I could do it. As soon as Xalavir was like, oh yeah, okay, you sound confident, I was like, boy, I hope I'm fucking confident. So I immediately started prototyping to see what I could do and if I could actually make the thing. And then once I had proven to myself that I could, I felt a lot better about the fact that I had just signed a contract to be paid real money to make this thing.
But where is that real money coming from, you ask? We don't know right now. This is not an easy game to pitch.
Imagine bringing that to an investor. You're pitching, we're going to honor the legacy of a person most people have never heard of by using esoteric game mechanics that are judged as confusing failures in the games in which they were seed.
Most investors would lay off 10 people right in front of you just for saying that. So the basic idea is that if getting funding for this game is going to be hard, we need to find as many ways as possible to minimize cost. Because the less it costs to make the thing, the less you need to ask investors for, and the easier it is to make a return on investment.
It's set a lot of constraints early in the project that's saying, hey, this is a niche game, so instead of animations, we're going to have still images. We're going to have a hub screen / context inspired by old scholastic games.
So we need artists. Ben and Julia are longtime collaborators. Ben was saying cool things about the project before it was even real, so they're both in, and good fucking lord, not a bad couple of people to be laying the groundwork. Their styles are very different, but Xalavir decides that, no, that's actually good and to the point.
This is a lot of potential scenes we need to depict. Wouldn't it be cool if part of the way we'd play with the variety of Bass's life was by having different artists depict different parts of this world?
So he starts chucking ideas at them. They morph his words into sick-ass concepts, slowly at first, but before long, the team enters its flow state.
He brings this Bass Reeves character later, and I'm like, oh, this is a really interesting character whose story deserves to be told without the Oblivion wheel.
Another artist, Will, is brought on for additional backgrounds as well as the Steam banner.
I'm struck by the power of the silhouette you landed on in the bottom center.
RJ, resident scaffolding musician, starts drafting up ideas.
That was ragtime? I thought it was skeleton music.
Nelson, it's a detuned piano, but it is a piano.
It sounds like skeleton music, RJ.
Colin's productivity skyrockets considering he's part-time. He starts committing new features to the codebase at least once a week.
No. That's the selector auto-rotating.
Ah, so that's why the puzzle was so disorienting.
Yeah.
Well, why did we do that? What type of puzzle does that facilitate?
I did it because it was funny.
Also, he has a connection to Gangstagrass, a bluegrass hip-hop fusion band. They made the theme for Justified. They could be making music for Bass. So that's cool. Xalavier starts doing more research for the writing.
Before he'd enter a gunfight, he'd start singing softly to himself, upon which time people would start diving for cover because they knew it meant Bass was about to get spicy.
How is this man real?
Him and Julia meet up to discuss the camp scene.
Why I love meetings with Xalavier. Story time. And art time.
Woo!
Here is Xalavier's rendition of the Bass Reeves camp scene. Carp scene.
And the team quickly realizes that they need another artist to handle the bulk of the backgrounds.
Most of the background art was made by someone who's never worked an official games job before.
My friend was like, oh yeah, Sean's incredible. I was just like full-on stream of consciousing at him, and he was just like scribbling like a madman, and then just turned out these beautiful masterpieces. And I had found out that Sean was like looking for work through that friend, and I was like, well, that sounds like someone Xalavier could use. That sounds great.
My experience was kind of like Colin's in that I was really just kind of desperate to get into anything like this at all. So when I was allowed to do a test image for the game, first picture I drew was like a middle-aged man running after a horse in the desert. I had not drawn anything like any of this at all.
Hey Sean, this rips, and I am stoked that we're working on the same thing.
These look great.
I love the art. What program? What brushes? Tell
Try
me
to get
your
away
secrets.
with more evocative strokes and less detail to keep your sanity. That all said, again, this composition kicks ass. I think all three are ready for the next phase, Sean.
I think the test image went really poorly the first time.
My memory of Sean is him working extremely hard, whereas I was like doing stuff as quick as possible because I was very, very busy at the time. I remember seeing Sean's work and be like, man, this guy's working so hard on this.
We saw him soar and tell the story of Bass in a way that gave me new appreciation for the man by finding the best way to tell a story with others.
So I went to the grocery store. I bought a toy horse about this big. I set it on my desk. I took a picture with my phone, and I was like, all right, let's get it done.
Sean acclimates pretty quick. Him and the rest of the team are spitting out background art left and right. Look at this shit.
I've got the horse right here, actually.
In early April, Colin starts to share builds for everyone else to see. By mid-April, the design spec had been fully written. Bass Reeves Can't Die will play like Oblivion Wheel Mario Golf. Early May, campsite artwork is done. Mid-May, item system is implemented. Late May, Xalavier thinks he can land the game a spot in the Summer Games Fest issue of Edge magazine. Huge deal. World premiere. Can it be done? Jeff Keighley. Colin gives a confident maybe. Xalavier also grabs the interest of at least one investor.
It would have been better if I had grabbed their money.
He knew he should have grabbed their money.
And we did try that. The game just wasn't in a place where we could
He didn't try hard enough. June rolls around, Colin's still at it. Implementation slows down a bit, but that's alright. Xalavier calls off the edge spot. Game isn't polished enough to show off to press. That's fine, we'll aim for next month. Besides, Colin's about to be between jobs, so he'll have a ton of time next week to work on it. Speaking of which, Colin is about to get a new job.
Planning on trying to get the core loop working by the end of next week on the off chance doesn't let me continue with side projects. I can't imagine a reason they'd turn me down, but since there are no guarantees, I'm gonna try to get the base game as complete as possible.
Once he starts the job, Colin, only programmer, decides it best to hold off on development until his employer's parent company tells him that it's okay to keep working at Strange Scaffold. A week goes by. A month goes by. He finally hears back. They said no. All right, we gotta take a break. Yeah, shake that shit, dude. It's pretty good, right? Yeah. All right, we'll be right back.
Chicken.
We'd like to take a moment to announce that all our food keeps blowing.
This dense, ugly bastard is making some awesome shit. Look at him agree with me. Cool. Final V. I'm talking Final V3, a podcast all about the creative process.
What is text?
For the girl listening, it's just a zoned off area crammed full of strange, anomalous, weird bullshit that you have to navigate. It's immersive.
Awesome.
Rainbow Dash was on my screen.
It's called Final V3. That's new episode. No, stop. That's not what I said. Yes, it is. New
I know what's
every other Saturday.
I already know.
It comes out on one day early on streaming services.
My fucking career is on the line.
Run antivirus. Triangulating. Copy that. Run a deep web search. Computer, interpolate. Show me the horse. No, I don't like that. Okay, better. Play a drum sample. Yeah, that's good. Go ahead and mint, then funge. Computer, show me my future. No. Okay, show me the future. Analyze. huge news. There will be new computers next year. I know, they've made more of them. Computer appeal amendment. I didn't think this year could get any better until ROG came to me with their secrets. I have 60 seconds to fill. I am an ambassador for the Republic of Gamers. I have dared to transcend. And yet, they have told me nothing of what they're announcing. Decentralized. Unlock the ROG lab. Look, all I have is this URL and this video of their little guy. And look, I appreciate that, but computer, minimize. No, minimize. In previous years, ROG has announced groundbreaking products such as the Zephyrus Duo, Anime Vision, Smart Gaming Contacts. Who knows what's in store this time around? Not me. Click the link in the description. It might take you to the ROG CES 2025 page, or it might take you somewhere else. Who can say? Me. It will take you to the CES page. You thought it was over. Now we got a little more. It's new footage. I wouldn't recycle. I wouldn't do that to you, man. All right, that's enough. We got to get back to the show. So Colin gets a new job, and the parent company of the company that employs him now tells him that he cannot work on Bass Reeves. You've probably been wondering how Oblivion Wheel Mario Golf could possibly be considered a conflict of interest. I'd let Colin explain, but Colin has been contractually encouraged not to name the parent company in question.
That was what my leads told me. Their actual team basically just made jerk-off motions at me through email.
And that didn't stop him, so he is now being noodle encouraged to shut the fuck up, Colin, because every time Colin name drops this company, I have to censor their name, Colin.
Yeah. But if we're being real here...
Okay, so sometimes cool companies that impose non-disparagement clauses will sometimes impose also a non-compete clause. Basically, it means that when you work a job for company, they can tell you not to work similar genre of job at other company. Sometimes, even after leaving the company. It's pretty fucking awesome. As of July, Colin is officially off the project. And with that, momentum grinds to a halt, because there is no programmer now. For a lot of games, this would be a cancellation, because there is no programmer now. Luckily for the team, Xalavir has connections to the underground shadow network of unemployed game developers, which is most of them.
Does that mean it's my turn to talk?
You were unemployed.
No, I was in school at this point. Like, I had worked an industry job, singular, but this time was like, oh, holy shit. This is like my in to this industry.
This was all happening very fast.
I don't know what happened in the orientation call, but all that I've got is me providing my full legal details, a screenshot of the game, and then a lot of pictures of Lightning McQueen.
But somewhere in that call, Xalavir familiarized Rhea with the ins and outs of the project.
It wasn't that I didn't think I could do it, but I was getting paid real money by a real person to make a real video game.
She says it was obvious, but by all accounts, she did a pretty great job of acclimating to the existing code and setting stuff up.
It was very naive, what I did. Full transparency. The first thing I worked on was I was asked to make the dialogue systems that would underpin the entire narrative. Nelson pointed me to a few really great tools. I was like, oh yeah, we've used this in other projects and you should take a look at it. And I didn't. I was like, oh no, I've got this idea. I'm just going to make it myself. And you know what? It worked. Except for when it didn't.
That is not a good thing to have to specify. Can you give an example?
Sometimes if you saved in the Unity editor in the wrong way, it would reset all of the character profiles and they would just be empty, faceless people again.
Was it because that was scriptable object based or what?
It was totally because it was scriptable object.
Yeah, so it probably wasn't survived in my old layer.
Yeah, I don't know what to talk about either.
But it did make it really easy to write scripts in editor at the scale that our game ended up reaching. And I got praise for it, so I got a lot of confidence from that.
Like and subscribe for more moments of personal growth. Here is another relevant smile moment.
I did a bunch of the work in between classes, and so then sometimes someone would peek at my laptop, and I was so happy when someone peeked at my laptop and asked what I was working on, and I got to show them and talk about it. And they were interested, and they played it. I don't know if I was allowed to do that,
So yeah, she was inexperienced, but she was making it work. Hey, so Xalavier got this deal with Meowwolf to make a new game for their thing. You want to be the lead programmer designer on that now instead?
Okay. Sure.
Bass Reeves is officially on hold now. It's not canceled, but you see, Strange Scaffold, run by Xalavier, who I cannot stress enough, did not grab the money earlier, does not have much money at this point. We haven't checked on him in a bit. What's he up to? I heard they're launching a new game pretty soon.
I would never teach a child to gamble. I would never do it. This game, Sunshine Shuffle, would never teach a child how to gamble. However, unrelated question. How long are you going to be showing this game to the kid in question? Because I can't be held legally responsible for I can't.
So the studio ain't liquid right now. Not much fluid to be seen. This is problematic because they were giving money to their contractors in exchange for work on the various games currently in production on purpose. Don't they know anything? Fire 10 of them now? Half rations? The idea is that if they can make an Oblivion wheel game for Meowwolf, project titled Dreamfather Loves You, they can use all that tech that they've already built for the Bass Reeves, meaning it'll get done way faster. In exchange, Meowwolf will give the studio money, which they don't have and need in order to fund other projects like the El Paso or the Bass Reeves.
I remember Nelson told me that I would be taking on a little bit of a design role on that project, and I was like, holy shit, yes. Yes. I want to do this. Yes. I was pumped.
This game was taken from idea to product within 5 months by a small team consisting entirely of part-timers, which IMHO, being TBQH honest, is pretty damn impressive.
There's like some subtle things that I was really, really happy with. The main menu screen and how it flickers with the UI and how after that it breaks your perspective a little bit. I was proud of being able to like say, oh, there's a lot of other people involved in it, but like, yeah, that's my thing I added to it.
Ray, did you ever see the final installation in person?
I did, like 2 weeks ago.
Oh shit! Damn it.
What?
I'm just mad we weren't talking about this like 2 weeks ago. I would have asked to tag along or something.
I mean, I filmed my reaction to it.
Oh. What if you sent me this, perchance even?
It's just me swearing a lot and then being quiet.
I don't care. That sounds funny.
What the fuck? Oh shit.
With Dreamfather finally done, the team could once again set their sights
I just got laid off. Let's fucking go!
Remember those 10 fired people? Colin was people. Yeah, we do callbacks in this script. Colin is such a unique specimen. He's been trying to leave this new job since starting this new job. He was out the second the parent company told him he couldn't make Bass Reeves.
After like a month of working there, I went to my boss and I was like, hey man, I don't have anything to do. I feel like I'm kind of just collecting a paycheck. And he was like, yeah, we're working on our onboarding, so you should probably just like keep collecting your paycheck.
His only legal requirement was to not do anything, and somehow he fucked that up. This guy wants to be paid, and he wants to do things. Who does this greedy bastard think he is? Look at his pantry. Look at all the rations. Look at his address. Look at his social security.
My senior technical designer, a guy named Chad, who is just the best. He was like really good at systems architecture inside Unity. He built like 30 systems by himself in the span of like 2 weeks. This dude was like absolutely fucking cracked. Again, very designer-focused tools, the thing that Xalavier was looking for with this project in general. And then there was me in the corner, like, messing with an IK system. And I was like, I did it with my Tinker Toys.
Yeah, just, like, looking over his shoulder every so often, like, whoa.
But it was sick. He code reviewed my stuff. He provided, like, very genuine, very actionable feedback on all my stuff. And, like, really just taught me how to architect things well in Unity. I basically got a crash course on how to do everything and more that Xalavier wanted for this project, totally by accident.
Colin's back. Ray is back. I'm back. Hi. Bass Reeves can finally begin production, and it is off to a great start.
Mrs. Reeves.
Is that who I think it is?
depends on who you think it is, Mrs. Reeves.
I think I'm talking to the Almighty.
I am. I want to talk to you about your son, Mrs. Reeves. I'm making that boy into something special. Something that's going to be hated, and feared, and loved. Bass Reeves is going to be a name that matters until this world stops spinning for people who don't even exist yet. He is going to escape this life before he is even a man. He is going to sit before the heads of nations and speak my words in their language. He's going to be a farmer with a beautiful family. And then I'm going to make him something more. I'm going to make Bass Reeves the greatest lawman that's ever been. He is going to face men like the person who calls himself your master. He will show them my vengeance to come. And I will not let him die. That's my promise to you, Perla Lee Reeves. Your son will not die until he is done, and old, and content.
Will I see this happen?
Yes, you will. And you will see his end.
This is my last night with him before they take him away. Can you make tonight last just a little longer?
Yes, ma'am.
I am a liar. That's our target. We're not there yet. Right now, there's a problem. Bass team does not yet have its fucks in a row.
It was just kind of slowly growing of like, I'm having a lot of fun working on this. I like what I'm working on, but I would not play this game. I would not want to play this game.
It was like we had an extremely functional and well-polished Oblivion wheel and really not much supporting it.
Like Dreamfather had finished everything we could have done with the direction that Bass Reeves was going to go originally. And then at some point, it just kind of cracked and I was like, hey, I got to say something about this.
And when you've already made that game, like just using the Oblivion wheel, then we're kind of just making Dreamfather again.
It was just kind of not all that fun, actually. But it was the problem.
So how do you think this conversation would go? Telling your boss that you think the game he's been paying you to make kind of sucks ass. Both sides pretty much agree on everything. The conversation couldn't have happened at a better time, actually, because Xalavier just grabs money from an investor. He did it! How's he doing, anyway? The money in question was prototype funding, which is exactly enough money for the studio to make a proof of concept. The idea is that if the investor likes what they see, they can choose to fund it to completion, basically right of first refusal. They've given 3 milestones to meet, effectively 3 deadlines for the team negotiated between Xalavier and the money people. If we want to get additional money and a chance to make the actual game, we need to meet these deadlines.
I'll be clear. If we use this full time, I will be very concerned as to what that means for the scope of the game and our total dev time/budget. I anticipate, given our goals and constraints, this total list should take us no more than 4 months total. This arrangement is unique in that if we finish these milestones sooner, they pay us sooner too.
We can make that work, right?
Oh, yeah, we can totally make that work.
These are fairly generous milestones. I'm confident we can easily hit this in very little time.
Okay, so Colin's back. Rhea's back. Bass Reeves can finally fucking begin actually.
So that was when the idea was to sort of go more in a WarioWare direction where we had these like different use cases for the wheel rather than just make a bar move.
Once we had gotten past the scary, ooh, we're changing design and into, okay, let's work within this design. Let's come up with ideas for it. This is where we started really like talking about design stuff together.
Yeah, and like programming and doing proper architecture.
And this is where you run into new problems, because Bass Reeves was always a solo programmer project. Colin and Rhea barely know each other, they'd never worked together before, and they had very different ways of thinking about code. Not to mention, Colin has another full-time gig now, so he's not able to dedicate as much time to the project as Rhea. Sometimes opposites work well together, but can they be yin and yang if they're both white?
I don't know about for Colin, but for me it was so much better.
Yeah, it was. Like, you know, it's one thing to see like, oh, narrative systems are being developed. It's another to be like back in the engine building shit and being like, oh, there's a whole layer of this game that didn't exist before.
Oh my god, it was so much fun coming up with all of these systems and ideas that we did.
Colin and Rhea decide together that they need to refactor the game. That is, rewrite a ton of code to accommodate the change in design. This takes a minute. While they chip away at rewriting most of the game, let's check on Xalavir. I hear the studio's hard at work on El Paso Elsewhere, which is kind of huge for them. How's that going?
So we fixed a glitch that's been in El Paso Elsewhere for like the past 6 months. We couldn't figure out why it was happening. And the basic reason that it's happening is that every time your character dies and the game resets, puts all the objects that got broken, all the enemies back in their proper places, the characters have to learn to walk again. And when that happens, Unity says, no, 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 that's bad, and then crashes the desktop. So every time the player would die, but not every time, just some of the times, the player was supposed to be spawned back into the world, the game would just crash. 6 months.
Cool, so the rest of Bass Reeves' team steps back onto the art horse. The horse of art. It's like they never even slowed down. Look at this shit. Good God.
Sketch out the child's grave ragdoll scene.
Wow, Xalavir, that's really cool. What the fuck am I supposed to do with... Okay, well, you know what? Fuck me. Maybe I'm the stupid one. Bit of time passes. The refactor's not done yet, but it's going really well so far. According to Colin, they've just got a couple more things to knock out, and then they can really focus on the minigames. Xalavir takes a little break to cool off.
Hey, so I had to tell Nintendo for the third time, whether or not our new game Sunshine Shuffle enables child gambling.
Our team's still going strong.
Hey, new Sunshine Shuffle news. We just got banned for sale from the Republic of Korea. 5.5 hours before lunch.
Welcome back. Hope the break was as restful as it needed to be.
Did you see what happened?
Yes.
Our team is still going strong. Sean is he's going Hitler on it. Well, yeah, no, he's going Hitler on it if Hitler was a better painter. He's going Hitler on it if he was a better painter and he didn't do that other stuff. He's going crazy.
Yeah, I felt like that was pretty much my life for a while, was kind of just everyday ideation, sketching, and pooping something out. The pressure and the inspiration I felt from my fellow artists was so tremendous that I think everyone kind of feels the same way, where they're like, man, they really know what they're doing. And on the inside, you're like, fuck, man, what am I doing?
Sean should believe in himself more. Hitler didn't like his paintings, and look where that got him. While the team is deep in the mines, Milestone 1 starts to loom overhead, and around this time, the money men start to ask for an update.
We're basically there. We just gotta build a few scenarios, squash some bugs, and playtest a bit.
Okay, yeah. If we're basically already there, just getting in 2 to 3 test cases and a build that has this bar-filling minigame playable on a background with minimal juice lets us fulfill this milestone and get paid for it earlier.
Unfortunately, Rhea is away for a bit, so Colin has to pull everything together for the milestone. He's got another full-time gig, remember, so his hours are properly limited, but he's making time wherever he can. Deadline rolls around, he submits a build right on time. I mean, it works, but I'm trying my best to figure this out, but there's no tutorial, and I don't know, it's simultaneously kind of obtuse and simple once you figure it out. There's no strategy here. This isn't the best impression you could give an investor. It needs some work. I'm giving this one a CinemaSins ding for not good enough. But that's okay, it's alright. The delay will be worth it to juice up the game a bit. Rhea gets back, God is good, Colin catches her up, and a week later, we've got another build. This one's got punishment for bad choices, improved controls, color-coded feedback, rebalanced scenarios, bug fixes, and, earlier this week, Gangstagrass sent in a demo track. The game has music now.
Big old bass, about to be your last. Better make like a tumbleweed and blow on past your crimes. Only about to pay with time.
Thank fuck. God is good. Poland is safe. It might not look all that different to the girl reading this, but trust me, as the guy playing this, night and day. But, I don't know, night and like 4 a.m. White moms are waking up. Xalavier sends the build off for approval. The team keeps working. Weeks go by. The team keeps working.
Milestone approved!
Rhea and Colin are now working perfectly together, splitting up and sharing tasks as needed. Refactor's still going strong. Rhea just needs to knock out a few more things and it should be done. I hear Xalavier's been really pushing himself lately. How's he holding up?
Y'all watch out for that sheriff. She don't have your best interest in mind. She needs a warrant to check that Minecraft stone you've got. You don't have to show her nothing. Y'all got rights, okay?
As the programmers refine the new internal systems, they and Xalavier begin spitballing new minigame ideas. Hence the WarioWare.
Hey, there's only one slice on this wheel and you have to chase it around. Or Rhea was like gearing up to build like a whole rhythm game version.
Oh, like I cannot fucking wait to talk about that.
But like it totally worked with the changes we had made.
Like my general idea is I want to make it so that the wedges kind of move towards the wheel instead, and then just have it so the player has to use the established control scheme to hit them somehow. I haven't started it yet. The refactor's more important, but we'll see when we get there.
And as this change in direction was pushed further and further, the art started to reflect those changes.
I started doing scenarios with movable parts. It's like the same asset would like move around.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Gallery one.
I also did some stuff for a mini game too, which was like the finding like clues at a crime scene.
The feeling I got when I saw art for the rhythm game idea was like unparalleled. I just felt a little scared, but holy shit. There was just so many ideas just floating around from all members of the team. Colin would throw some, I'd throw some, Nelson would throw some. I think some people on the art team would throw some out. And now instead of it being, at least for me, I was like, yeah, I'm working on this thing for someone. It was, we are working on this game together.
The second Milestone's deadline comes and goes. But hey, Refactor is, it's not done. It's very close. It's coming along. And the results look very promising. We on that 5:30 a.m. shit. White moms are jogging.
This refactor is really nice. I just made a new game type by like changing one option.
Oh, I'm so glad. That was the hope.
I made a button masher that I was like, what if I just made it rotate again? And now it's a chase the wedge type thing.
Yeah,
hell yeah!
2 days, 6 scenarios, 1 new UI element, and a few bug fixes later, the Milestone 2 build is ready to go.
This is coming together so well. Amazing work, Rhea. God damn, when we get the scenario data fixed, it's going to be so easy to build these out and make them super cool. I'm pumped.
Okay, not sure if it's my aspect ratio, but the words of the wheel are misaligned. Also, if you fail a scenario, you don't lose health. Not sure if that's intentional.
Yeah, it breaks at 16 by 10. It always has.
My guess is that health is technically a reward, and losing health is therefore a negative reward for a fail.
If they ask, I'll just say I wanted them to try the scenarios without failing the game. Easy.
A couple more bugs need fixing. We'll get to those. Anyway, we're not waiting for approval, especially since Milestone 3 was supposed to be submitted by now. It's full steam ahead. We're getting this shit done. Xalavier's been sending in more minigame ideas. How's he doing?
Why would there ever be a...
Okay, so there's a really cool deal hack where if you bring this to a convenience store and point it in the air...
Cool. So what else is he up to?
After we had like gotten a bunch of the more fun ones that didn't have to be super well executed, Nelson is starting to bring on some more emotional pieces.
That was when he was like brushing his horse, sleeping with his skunk and all that stuff, and I think there was another one that was kind of tender, but I like those pictures the most.
The most intense stuff was usually being handled by Ben, who was now also focusing heavily on the game's beginning. Everyone's part-time, remember. The team's got their hands full. Also, Rhea just got a new job.
Well, I wanted to afford rent where I live.
Oh my god. Can you just live within your means?
Yeah, ask for the fucking moon, why don't you?
The job is not good to her.
I didn't get paid for a while. Like, several months.
Remember when you said you weren't going to throw anyone under the bus?
Hey, I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. I'm just telling the events that occurred to me.
I'm just describing the bus route.
I'm simply outlining the point of impact. It eats up her free time, more than she ever expected. Progress slows, and she's so busy that she ends up having to miss one of the team meetings. Silver lining, Manda, producer on Bass and several other projects, records the whole thing for her. Thank you, Manda. Everyone in the chat, say thank you, Manda.
Milestones are this week. I'm going to be doing Bass Reeves' overall plot and course outlining so that I can pick a place to tell a story that happens inside of the camp. I've booked that in my schedule already, and I'm prepared and ready to move forward on that. What is needed on y'all's end?
We have a bit more of the scenario data refactor to get through just to make sure that it actually works. So I know we have a pin here in the design channel talking about what the actual milestones are. So now we need the day scene segueing into the night scene.
So we've got all the way until early October to hit this milestone. So although the money would be great sooner, we can, with a fairly relaxed pace, basically take a full month and a half to do the stuff here. What I'd like to do after this milestone, and the goal is, we're just producing content. Like, this is a game that can launch early 2024, provided it's written up and that we get additional imagery and stuff, because, like...
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so... and then just a couple other like housekeeping notes, Nelson, is number one, has like the overall state of Strange Scaffold changed? I see that we've got the kidnapping sim going, so are we potentially just putting this project on hiatus after October until we figure out what's going on with it, or are things moving forward after this? Has that changed at all?
Strange Scaffold, shaky place, but Kidnapping Sim did get funding, so we will figure out what specific opportunities exist with everyone else.
Okay.
After this milestone, so there will be a period of quiet, and then we will figure out. Yeah, I think I'm still gonna at least figure out what the plan for what it looks like to release the game is. Okay. And I'll keep y'all updated as that goes on.
Lots of games that were being developed by the studio. I Am Your Beast, Teenage Demon Slayer Society, CDRM3, 2 other projects with Megan Fox of Skatebird. All these Strange Scaffold projects and more were being put on hiatus because the industry was imploding. The studio is at this point suffering from acute game industry, quickly running out of real money, and everything left is being reallocated into the studio's moonshot, El Paso elsewhere. Pretty soon, Bass Reeves Can't Die and Life Eater were the only other projects still in development. Milestone 2 is approved. The investor has some notes, nothing crazy. Art slows down, mainly because we have way more material than we need right now. Programming work continues. Despite everything, the quit button works now. Ben is almost done with the intro art, looks incredible. October rolls around, the end is in sight. Programming work continues, despite everything and more.
Around the time we were putting together the milestone for the attempt to get funding, I remember when I learned that this is the last one. This is the one that they will see to decide if they want to make this a full game. This is the one that, like, did we prove ourselves yet? And I really felt like we hadn't.
I think I was a bit more optimistic about it. I feel like we could see what the game was going to be to an extent. I was sort of confident that, like, this game isn't going to be very expensive to finish. And there are, at this point, I think a lot of the heavy lifting had been done. But I think it was just kind of like, it was kind of clear that the industry was really just crumbling around us at that point.
Are we wanting to do some, like, heavy juice injection for this milestone, by the way?
If at all possible. This build is going to be used to evaluate whether we get additional funding, so...
Oh.
It's a big one.
All right. I did not know that.
Yeah, the point of the prototype fund is to incubate things for other sponsor opportunities. The better the final builds, the higher the chance we get another pocket of cash. We can pitch again later, but it'll be less effective, especially if they've seen or passed on it before.
Okay. I'll see if I can get some good shit in this week then.
At this point, we're just a few days out from the deadline. The build is almost ready. Team manages to squeeze in a few extra things here and there, updating assets where possible, polishing things up. This is the point of no return. They submit it, and then they're kind of just stuck waiting. Zalavier said to expect this. They organize a meeting about what comes next, assuming they get the money. Kind of falls apart in the scheduling. Rhea asks what happened to the milestone. There's no word for a while. After a long while, they do hear back. It's approved.
I want to talk about time bubbles because they're one of the most important pieces of game development that I see least talked about in public. Because really, if you're trying to figure out how long something is going to take, there's 4 levels to which you can do that. The first one is how long will it take you to do the work? Say it's 40 hours, 1 week. Simple, fine. There's the second level of figuring out how long it will take to do something, which is where you do that plus time for revisions, time for iteration. Time to do a task is not just doing the task, it is figuring out where the task went wrong and how to fix it later. The third level of task tracking is task tracking, figuring out and accounting for times of revision and times for contingencies. Because say you get hit by a car, say something takes longer. Say that someone blocks you because you expect an art asset would be in the game and it isn't in the game. You need to account for that somehow, for disasters both personal and professional. And those are the first 3 levels of time management. But the 4th level, time bubbles, is one of my favorite and one that I've been grappling with a lot lately existentially, as the biggest game I've ever directed in my career is about to come out. A time bubble is my term for how long it takes for something to existentially coalesce and come together. It is divorced from all contingencies, all production realities. It is simply the time for the task is not the task itself. It's also the invisible space of living around making the thing.
Yeah, I remember that fucking DM. I think Zalavier sent it to everyone.
Actually, Zalavier just told me that I think they had to pause on the assets. I just figured like stuff was going on, like, you know, I know pivots happen and it would just wait for news if it ever comes.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just stopped getting work, and I kind of just assumed, like, all right, like, they don't need my stuff. They're taking care of everything else. There's a lot going on. In, like, November of whatever year it was, I got a DM.
I didn't realize Bass Reeves had slowed down that much until Nelson had talked to me about it. He's like,
hey, so now Bass has been wrapped up for... We shelved it. The studio's still struggling for survival, and sticking everything on the shelf that isn't literally giving us money right now feels really fucking bad, but keeps us from leaking money to the point where we're literally on the brink again. I mean, I told him, you know, like, obviously, don't let Strange Scaffold die. I think that was the first time I realized, like, how close things were to going real bad.
Getting the message, I think, hurt a lot more than the actual thing that was happening, weirdly enough. It was kind of a, like, how do I say I understand without saying it's okay? Nelson should be here right now. I want to hear things from him. I think
he's very...
We had been making the game for a solid year plus by the time we got the opportunity to receive prototype funding. The difference between those 2 periods was the product was started when the studio was not in danger of closing. By the middle of the year, no other games were being developed. If anyone was split between multiple projects at the studio, they were, at that point, only working on El Paso. And the question that I faced as a studio head and also as a person myself, as a creator, was, this may be the last game I ever direct. So we got to finish it. Because I was working double overtime, working on El Paso all day, doing freelance, and pitching Bass Reeves, Teenage Demon Slayer Society, I Am Your Beast, and finding over and over again doors closed in our face. Gently, but closed nonetheless. And the extra cash from doing that prototype actually is maybe the primary reason El Paso Elsewhere was able to ship.
When we sent that Milestone build, we had all of these things that would make the game worthwhile, but wouldn't be conveyed in that Milestone, is how I felt.
You know, from my perspective, we had all of this cool stuff and all of these cool plans, but they played a build that dynamic kind of nature was really not there.
I knew what was going on in the industry, and I knew how difficult it was going to be to get that funding. Unfortunately, I'm with Rhea on this one. I didn't think that we were ready. I think that if we were able to cook it for another 2-3 months, we probably would have gotten to that point. You know, I wanted to keep morale up. That's part of what I do is, you know, team mom, rah, rah. But I knew what they were looking for, and I didn't think that this was going to fit the bill.
This is a project that had a vibe. It had a very good narrative, art. There was an idea behind the project, but it was all in search of a game that didn't quite exist yet.
One thing I was thinking about as we were talking is that you're probably going to have a bit of a historical conflict storytelling issue on your own side, where my chronology and connection to the game or whatever else, especially now that it's quite fuzzy, is going to probably in some ways differ from other people on the team, which is probably going to differ from some of the things you find in the channel.
Do either of you have any memory of how long you thought it was going to take to get those milestones together originally?
Colin?
Not really.
Milestone 1 was not complete until around Milestone 2's deadline. Milestone 3 was not completed until mid-October.
What fucking happened, man? I don't remember it being like this, but it was. What fucking happened? Fuck.
Like, I mean, it's hard to characterize exactly what went wrong. I think it didn't really seem like we had a clear idea of where this game was going.
I feel like we did.
Well, we had an idea of where the game was going as like,
Man, I've not talked about these thoughts ever. I kind of blamed myself for it a lot. I felt like I had let them down. Because remember, I earlier told him, like, hey, I don't think this is working, and that we pivoted the entire project, and then the project kind of failed. And so it led to me developing this weird parasocial relationship with this Discord server because I still had access to all of the UI games, and I was just watching things happen there as my way to still feel like I have some kind of link to Strange Scaffold. Then that went away at one point, and I was like, oh, fuck.
If things had gone differently with, like, I could definitely see a world where this game could have been a really cool thing.
I came onto it really late. I think if I would have came onto it towards the beginning, I mean, you know, not necessarily anything would have changed in terms of the marketplace, of course, but I don't know. Maybe I could have, like, banged down some doors.
Why is it that we fucked up the milestones? Like, the time that was given should have been enough. Where did we go? Where did we fuck it up?
I think you and I were younger and more naive and bit off a bit more than we could chew, which was great for our growth as game developers and people, and less so for a sustainable project. We were also, I mean, we both acknowledged that we were dealing with, like, some pretty serious shit in our personal lives. Yeah, maybe if we had met the milestones a little bit earlier, things wouldn't have been quite so dog shit, but, like, that just so happened to line up with, like, the worst state that the modern game industry has ever been in.
This is, like, you know, the first studio that I really worked with, and this is, like, the first thing I worked on that, like, I was really proud of, so it was kind of heartbreaking when it went away.
So I spent the majority of my 20s working at this one place, and so I didn't feel like a game developer. I felt like my entire identity was wrapped up in this studio I had been at for 5.5 years. This project was like my first real like thing not being that. I went to 2 different studios to try and like escape that, and both of them are gone now.
It felt like killing a dream that a core piece of myself held. I mean, my parents even shared in this of like, wait, so you can't make a Bass Reeves? It's just dead? And I was like, it's that, or we don't get to keep making games anymore. So as much as El Paso Elsewhere is in many ways a dream game, to kill a dream inspiration and a reason why you're here, a core piece of yourself, in order to make a quote-unquote dream game, will sour the dream game in the process. El Paso Elsewhere isn't just something I'm immensely proud of and is one of the most significant creative efforts I've ever been a part of in a career that includes nearly 100 games now. It is also the game that killed Bass Reeves Can't Die. So we're just, at this point, moving on to other projects and, to be honest, trying to resist the temptation to look for the next opportunity to tell his story. Because I don't want it to become a white whale.
Does it feel weird for this to be how this project is being wrapped up in a way, as something that some guy is coming in and making a video on, like about a thing that didn't happen?
I think it's honestly kind of fitting in a way, because how many games get this? I mean, this is the second project that Colin and I worked on together, and our baby, the project that we really worked on full time, is never going to get this.
I've definitely poked Nelson over, I guess, the years at this point, just being like, I mean, you know, if I had the money to fund this game to completion, I would. You know, working with Strange Scaffold was like the first time after being miserable working in games for so long and being like there had to be something better, that like, here's proof that there was.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that, yeah, I feel like I was really spoiled in the industry when I started, because all of the work that I had done for Strange Scaffold up until that point, which was the 3 other projects they had shipped, and I had this impression that you know, that's just what happens, and it's just easy, and this is how that all works. It's I didn't know until just this meeting that this project was not happening anymore. I figured it was coming out any day, you know, because I am proud of what we did. And so, as a segue, like probably in about 10 minutes, I'm probably going to have to get dinner and finish off the rest of my day. But
actually,
yeah.
I do need to dip off because I have a Project Bandana meeting in like 10 minutes. I got to go prep for it.
No, y'all are totally good. We're wrapping up here anyway. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Bye,
you.
and it's good to see you in real life.
It was lovely to see you all. Colin, I miss your face a lot.
Nelson has got me roped in doing something for a new project for Strange Scaffold, so I'm trying my best at that. I'm really excited, hoping that works out, hoping that we don't do another one of these.
I was working on ads, but I applied for a job for a company called D-Cell Games, working on a game called Unbeatable, and then I had the best job interview of my life. We spent 3/4 of the job interview yelling about the movie Speed Racer, and then I got told, like, yeah, you got the job, and I was like, holy shit, and I immediately put in my 2 weeks.
If this is all that ever comes of it, then like that's great too. It's not going to be the last Strange Scaffold project. It's not going to be the last chance to make something like weird that hasn't been done before. I mean, I got to work on Life Eater this year. I got to, you know, once again work with an incredible group of people. While Bass Reeves is very dear to me, you know, it's not the end of the world if it doesn't properly see the light of day. I'm just glad we get to be here.
This video isn't getting made in the next 3 weeks, is it? I don't think I'd be getting married right now if I hadn't gone through the last year of my life. And one of the things that year of my life did was show me, one, how important games are, but two, how they also have nothing on the need to be a human. it's sad that we had to put Bass Reeves on, a fairly definitive hiatus, but it's what means we're still here today, and the survival is the thing that matters. The simplest thing I can say is a project like Bass Reeves is something that I think every developer should go through, because it teaches you that nothing isn't expendable, actually. The main thing that matters at the end of the day is that you and the other developers in the room manage to walk away and keep being creative and keep being human. And if only for that reason, I would go through the joys and the pains of Bass Reeves all over again.